Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Marvel Legends Spider-Man No Way Home Spider-Man, which I'm guessing a lot of people are very into. It's a very classic looking Spider-Man, that's why I got it. I don't really collect the movie figures at all anymore, but this is as close to a traditional Spider-Man as you're going to get from the MCU, and I thought it would be good to review for those of you that might want to pick it up because you like the way it looks or whatever. It might be something you want to have even if you don't collect the MCU stuff, and if you do, then all the better. So there's actually some stuff going on here that's really good, exceptionally good for Hasbro, in fact. And there's some stuff on here that is just as bad as ever because Hasbro gonna Hasbro. We're gonna talk about all of that. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. Before we get into the figure, let's take a quick look at my package. And when I said Hasbro's gonna Hasbro, they start right off the bat with the packaging. Spider-Man No Way Home, okay, it's for the movie, I get it, that's good. It says Marvel Legends Spider-Man, that's good. Which one is it? Is it this? No. That's Toby. Is it this one? No, that's Andrew. Is it this one? No. They couldn't they couldn't put the figure in the package on the box? It's just like, come on, why? Why'd you do that? And then we have the exact same artwork back here. What is with these companies? What is the point of this? Their packaging is just getting ridiculous, if you ask me. Like, it doesn't matter to me at all personally because I don't care about packaging, but just as a bystander of in-card collectors or on-card collectors, the packaging is just getting so lazy. Why is there a tiny little poster on the back? And that's the same artwork here. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. Show the figure, show a scene from the movie, show something, anything worthwhile. All right, so let's get into the figure. That's what you're here for. This thing stands just about 15.5 centimeters, not counting the tops of his hair. That's gonna be about 6 1/8 inches. Here he is up against Darwin, who was just flexing on somebody. So there we go. It's tall, definitely tall, because Tom Holland is not especially tall, and he is almost as tall as Darwin, so that's questionable scale-wise. All right, let's do a quick question of the day. Is this close enough to a comic look for you to buy it, even if you don't buy MCU stuff? To me, yes, once you put the head on, but also they screwed up something serious in a few places, so we'll see if it's actually worth getting. All right, and then just another question, because I haven't seen the movie yet, and I didn't think I was gonna need to look this up. Is the spider that hard to see in the movie? It's like it's hidden amongst the web here. Is that the way it is in the movie? Is his new suit like kind of Spider-Man, but he's a little bit ashamed about it, sort of thing? I don't know. I'm joking partly, but it is weird. All right, let's talk about the aesthetic on this guy. They did some things significantly better. I'm gonna save the best thing for last, but I do want to mention a couple of important things. First thing, the shoulders are significantly larger than we normally see. They are also not as low as we normally see. They've done here mostly what I've been telling them to do, which is to stop the traps and bring the shoulders up. And they have done that, and it looks significantly better than most of the Spider-Man figures. They did it like in a weird way because this body is halfway realistic MCU looks and then halfway comic-y. It's very strange. So you do have the bigger shoulders, but the arms are too long, which is weird. It's like they left the arms low where they normally do and then just stretched everything up to hit that top spot. It's not that big of a deal. They're not super low, but they're a little bit long, just a little bit. And his torso is very tiny. He's very strangely proportioned. And I know Tom Holland's a pretty trim guy, pretty small guy, fairly petite, but this has a weird lankiness to it that I think is not really representative of him. Part of it is his neck is really long. Part of it is the hip situation, which we'll get to. The chest, the whole thing is just kind of strange all the way around. It's a little bit weird, sculpt-wise. It's good if you look at the details, but there's a lot of weird stuff hidden, and it's throwing off the overall look. One of the things being the way they did the elbow joints, which we'll look at a little bit more later, but they tried to keep the sculpt going onto the joint right here, on that blue part, and it looks really weird. It just looks kind of wrinkly and lumpy and strange. And then the joint itself is strange, we'll get to that, but okay, let's pan back out and just comment on the fact that the reds are very different in different places, particularly this spot here being duller than the rest. Most of it is pretty consistent. That's kind of strange. The paint job for the webbing is kind of hit or miss. It's fairly decent in a lot of places, but then we have other places where it's fairly not, like front and center right there. What is that happening at his neck? It's all chunky and weird and not lined up. Very strange. Other places it's pretty good. The hands are lazy as hell. They just didn't even bother trying to do it around the knuckles at all. And then down here on the boots, it's halfway decent, and this is all sculpted webbing, so it's like they put some effort into it, no doubt, but it's still like they just can't not be a Hasbro product. Also, in the movie, does he have giant panels like this? Because his web lines are very inconsistent on this figure. Some are tiny, like around the neck, they're super tiny. Tiny little checkerboard, and then giant panels around here. It's a very strange look. I don't know if that's how it is in the movie. He's metallic blue, which is not bad. We've definitely seen worse. It looks okay. All right, and then the last thing for the suit that I wanted to mention is the texture is a little bit inconsistent. In some places, it's very obvious. On the chest and head, for instance, it's very obvious. Then on the arms, you can't really even tell it's there. In some places, you can see it. I can't even zoom in any farther without it losing focus. You can't see the texture. So in some places it's very obvious, at other places there's just none. So that's very, very, very strange. Another good thing they did, I mentioned how the shoulders are bigger and higher. They are also set farther back, which is nice. And there is a butterfly, so you can bring them forward if you want, but that's clearly not the neutral. If you put them in the neutral position, they are farther back, which is where they freaking belong. Thank you very much, Hasbro. The shoulders should be at least a little bit back, and they are. If you look at the neck, look where the shoulders are. It's a much better look for the figure, and I like that a whole bunch. So that's a good thing. They have done some things nicely. All right, and then the last thing, which is actually really nice. This video is going on long. It's really, really nice. This head is probably the best head sculpt Hasbro has done. Is it as perfect as somebody who's customizing them, making 10 at a time, and going for like super hyper realism? No, his eyes are a little bit anime-ish. But the sculpt is damn good, face and hair, and that paint job for Hasbro is, without a doubt, perfectly acceptable. It is a fantastic paint job. They have the blushing going on throughout the skin to bring him to life. The eyebrows are nicely done. The eyes, like I said, they're a little bit cartoony, but that's also zoomed in on the camera. If you just have him standing on your shelf, again, the eyes are slightly big still, but it looks a lot like Tom Holland. They really did a good job on this one. This has to be the best head they've done, sculpt and paint-wise overall. As far as the realistic ones, this is fantastic. The hair could definitely use a little bit of shading, but it is a good sculpt. So, yeah, there's a lot of good stuff going on here, but there is some really weird stuff. One of them, I guess I'll mention this before I get to the articulation, the hips. We have drop-down hips, the hinged ball pegs. You can't get rid of this gap. So this thickness in his hip where it pops out on the sides, that looks absolutely ridiculous. You can't get rid of that other than to go like this. So you can bring the legs up. It makes it a lot more flush over here, but the legs have to stick out like that. What the heck? That shouldn't be, how is that a thing? How's Hasbro still having such trouble? And just wait till we get to the rest of the articulation. So the hips being down and weird, that definitely throws off the look of the figure quite a bit, especially with the narrowness of his trunk. But there's a lot to like about it. It's good and bad. So if I'm not counting the head sculpt, I'm just going to give this body a 7. It's perfectly adequate. It's okay. Typical Hasbro problems, but some good too. Now, as far as the head goes, that thing gets a 9.9 as far as I'm concerned for a mass-produced $25 figure, $26 figure, whatever they cost nowadays. That's awesome, but I'm just leaving that as a separate rating because it's so disparate from the rest of the figure. All right, on to the accessories. They really let us down here too, if you ask me. You saw the normal unmasked head. You do get the masked head. Mine's painted pretty well. I've seen some other people with some pretty bad paint jobs. Mine's okay. It's not particularly good, but it's not especially bad. It's fine. It's whatever. Hands, we get the 2 fist hands that come on them in the package. Then you get some thwipping hands and some wall crawling hands. That's it. No web accessory at all. No gripping hand. So I think it's a pretty skimpy assortment. Pretty light for this release. But it's not terrible, so I'll give it a 7. 2 heads and 6 hands. It's not bad by any means, but they definitely could have included more. They haven't given us a good web accessory yet. On a single Spider-Man figure, not a single good web accessory ever. So that's a little bit weird. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about the articulation. Get ready for this. Buckle up. Pop some corn. Don't pop some corn. This isn't going to take long. I'm going to handle this business quickly. They did a double ball peg, which is excellent. Thank you, Hasbro. Good job thinking about the double ball peg. But wait. Yep, you guessed it. The ball is very deep in there, and the opening affords very little range. It's better than some that they've done. You can see it has some, but it's pretty limited. I want to pop the other head on, because this way, with the hair, you know, it's a little bit limiting. Let's pop the Spider-Man head on, and I'll show you just what it can do. Because Hasbro is doing whatever they can to try to get people to not like double ball pegs, apparently. Also, he's very orangey. There's just a little bit of yellow to his red. Does anybody else notice that? Like, it's definitely there. My lighting is completely neutral, and I can see a hint of yellow. I don't think he was that color in the movie, but I don't know. So he can barely look up. He can't really look down. He can lean to the side just a little bit, and then you get your rotation. So they definitely, like, it's still better than not a double ball peg, but it doesn't have any of the extremes at all. He's going to be very limited in his posing. Neutral posing is going to be great, but you're definitely not getting a lot out of it, which is super unfortunate. Speaking of not getting a lot out of it, his butterfly joints, good grief. Look at that. They don't go anywhere back at all. Like, look how much they cut out of him, and then there's no range, so they can't go back, and then going forward is minuscule. If you rotate the arm, okay, look at that, just better than 90 degrees from his center point. There's like no range on this guy's arms. It's so limited for no reason, no good reason. Full rotation there. Shoulder joint does go up better than horizontal, so that's okay. Bicep swivel is fine. Double jointed elbows, watch this. First of all, look at the sculpt, because all of a sudden elbow joints are hard. The sculpt is not good. It would have looked better to just have the joints, just the discs in there, rather than trying to sculpt whatever they tried to sculpt on that bicep. It looks weird. All right, but watch this. Let me put it this way so it's less disorienting. He's got these giant flats sticking out because they didn't incorporate the joint. Why is... Stop focusing on the wrong thing, camera. It's because I'm all the way zoomed in. That is one of their ugliest elbow joints, and it's just an elbow joint for Spider-Man. They've been doing elbow joints since elbows were a thing. Look at Darwin's elbow joint. It's nice and smooth and seamless. I mean, obviously there's articulation, but there's no weird chunks and gaps. Look at that. What the heck? This is absurd. It's absurd. It's offensive. It's... What the... That's nuts. How? How do you do that? Alright, wrists have a swivel and a hinge. That's fine. Diaphragm joint on this guy. We're going to be finding this out together. I haven't messed with the diaphragm joint. I wanted to be surprised on camera. Although I probably won't be. Let's see. Alright, he's fairly neutral right there. How far does it go back? It goes back alright. It's not a ton. A little bit. Just a little bit. And going forward, just a tiny little bit. Yeah, I'm not surprised so far. Out to the side is pretty decent. That's all right. Okay, and you're going to get your rotation too. All right, so it's pretty paltry. It's not good. We do get the upside down ab crunch here, so let's see how that goes. I'm going to leave the top completely neutral. That's it. That's it. All right, so both of them put together, you get that. All right, let's go forward. All right, top's neutral. Even with that, you get very little range, almost none. And then for the lower waist, oh, that's right, they don't do a lower waist twist, so his torso sucks. Okay, moving on to the hips. We already discussed the fact that you have this really crazy gap and the hips are way too far out to the side. Unless you pop them up like that. Oh, man. All right, well, let's see what they do. Going out to the side. He can't do the splits. It's pretty far. It's better than most of their Spider-Man figures, but we have seen better from far chunkier guys that aren't Spider-Man, so it's acceptable, obviously. But for Spider-Man, I want full-on splits. All right, and so that's with his legs all the way down using that hinged ball peg. Let's see how far up they can go. They do go up pretty far. Obviously, it kicks them out to the side to a pretty severe degree. I think you'll be able to use that to your posing advantage. You know, bring that up, for instance, and then rotate this out, and that'll give you, like, obviously it looks weird right now, but if you pose figures, you get the idea that you can hit the splits or do anything you want if you bring this up and then rotate at the thigh. But they didn't need to make it that complex. The hinge isn't necessary. Just make a better hip, and especially when it causes problems like this, where you have to have him standing with his legs all the way out, or he's got giant gaps and thick ass hips in a bad way. So not great. You can get some range out of it, but definitely aesthetically not good. And the hinge ball peg is just such a dumb idea. 99% of the time, it's a bad idea. Not always. It sometimes works out, but this is somewhere in the middle of, like, it's acceptable, sort of. All right, thigh swivel is a thigh swivel, nothing special there. The knees, oh man, posing this guy sucks. That's because of these insert molded joints. Oh, come on, let's go, knee, you can do it. I don't think this knee's going anywhere. There we go, got it, all right. So his knees are just like his elbows. They are a little bit mechanical looking. They're not as bad, but you do get the flats in there. And then you get the harsh edges on the tops and bottoms of the kneecap. So it's not great. His proportioning is better. That's a good thing. Also, I don't know if you guys noticed, as I was trying to bend his knee, the feet are actually a separate piece, or the shins, separate piece from the blue. They got away from painting by doing separate parts. I'm fine with that, but it was definitely flexing a lot. So I don't know if that's going to end up being a problem if you're going to end up with a gappy Spider-Man as a result, but it's like that. All right, and then for the ankles, they go all the way back. That's good. Webbing pattern, just not there anymore. Just forget about it. They do go pretty far forward, and they have a nice ankle rocker. So a few parts of his articulation work pretty well, but overall, it's not good. And for a Spider-Man figure, it's pretty bad. I would say it is. Let's just run it real quick. Neck sucks. Shoulder or butterfly joints suck. Shoulders are okay. Arms are okay. Elbows are ugly. Torso sucks. Torso sucks. Hips suck, but you can get some range out of them. Thigh swivel is fine. Knees are okay. Ankles are okay. That's not a good run for Spider-Man. 4 out of 10 for articulation, only because there's no reason for any limitations on this guy. It's a new mold, and it's Spider-Man. What better time to have all of the good articulation? They didn't do that, so that's not good. All right, it's time for a final verdict. Did this video really go to 18 minutes? Wow. Goodness. Okay, so final verdict on this release. It's your run-of-the-mill Hasbro product. It's not an especially good Spider-Man. Oh, just realized how bad that looks right there. The way the red sticks out. Unless you lean him forward. Okay, yeah, so typical Hasbro product. Very lazy, brand new parts and that still don't work. Paint job is not especially good. This is by far the best thing. The head, I'll give a 9.9 still. The rest of the figure, it gets a generous 7. It's perfectly okay. And that's it. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you should. I have new videos almost every single day and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.